I've been able to dedicate a lot more time to my training, and I've noticed a lot of great improvements, especially in terms of my footwork. I figure given this progress, it'd be a great time to show an update in my recent training blog. I'm starting with some basic warm-ups. I like to warm up kind of like I'm shadow boxing, but it's more of just trying to get moving, trying to get your feet bouncing, get used to moving around so that you can loosen up before you actually start your shadow boxing. For that reason, I like to keep things as loose as possible and almost move around like I'm dancing. And here I'm working on some check drills. These are really good because they're not just warming up your hips and preparing you to check, but also when you need to throw a kick, it's going to come from a very similar chambered position. One thing I really credit for being able to land a lot of counter punches is be able to move in and out quickly. And I find that the karate stance, or that deep, almost bladed stance, is some of the best ways to do that. So what I like to do is kind of drill, just moving in and out, hopping in and out of my feet, shuffling in and out, being able to maintain that distance or quickly close or escape as I need to. I like to keep my arms loose like noodles and almost over-exaggerate that shoulder whirl so I can really practice landing and letting my body throw the punch instead of my arms themselves. Now I'm getting into some actual shadow boxing, and one thing I've been really trying to do is increase the intensity of my training, because it's very easy to get in there and be lazy about it. And I've noticed that when I get to those higher levels of intensity, that's when I get nauseous. And I seem to have like good aerobic conditioning where I can go for days, but as soon as that intensity goes up, it wears me down, and that's why I'm really focusing on training at that higher level of intensity, pretending that this is a full fight. So I'm doing the 3-minute rounds, and I'm really pretending that opponent is right there in front of me, always moving around, always trying to explode. I'll throw some light punches, but then I'll get in there and actually throw some with power. I'm actually pretending that this is the guy right in front of me, and I'm trying to push him against the ropes, push him into the corner. You notice I throw that right kick because I want him to move into the corner. I throw the teep because I'm trying to push him back. Put the pressure on, pop back, and then throw the punch as if you're trying to escape that, his pressure, and then put down pressure of your own. Now I'm experimenting with throwing my hooks in a downward fashion because I'm going to hop and land down with my body weight. Similar to the falling step and how it applies to a lead jolt or a lead jab, I think that this can apply to a falling hook as well. You can see the same principle here as I throw normal jabs and then that stepping jab where your body weight falls at the same time the punch does. Combining with a good whirl of the shoulder, and you can generate a lot of speed and power off of it. Here I kind of felt a sense that the jab does a great job of setting up those level changes, so you can either set up a takedown or set up coming down and tricking your opponent into taking a cross. You can see with these uppercuts that even though they separate from the body, you're still able to generate a decent amount of power by driving up from the floor and almost lunging at or away from your opponent, so you move upwards as you throw the punch, and that allows you to generate power at range even if you're moving forward or backwards. Here I'm just playing make-believe that I'm on the ropes and trying to actually throw counters instead of just standing there letting myself get punched, move off, throw the knee, create some space. Really trying to practice those exaggerated drop steps where you throw your whole body into every single punch. Every time I move, if I move to the left, I'm throwing my whole body weight to the left as that right hand moves with it. These punches may come off a little bit sloppy, but I'm really trying to practice just letting my hands kind of flow like noodles and let the shoulders and body take the work. So I'm doing a lot of make-believe here. Notice the distance you can get on this leading uppercut and how the upward movement generates power. Again, playing make-believe to keep him on the ropes, throwing the round kick to push him more into the corner, pretending he's trying to move out, throw the left kick, try to keep him in the corner, keep active, keep moving him towards that corner. He's trying to move the other way. I'm going to have to cut him off, use that kick to kind of move him where I want him to go. Here I'm working on a drill that I read about in Jack Dempsey's Championship Fighting, where he talks about how you can practice using the shoulder whirl. So the goal here is not really to focus on technique or footwork or stance or anything like that, but really just really get down how those shoulders are going to whirl back and forth to generate power in the opposite hand. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get a rhythm on the bag while still practicing in the most efficient way. And I think I come to the conclusion here at some point that I have to run the drill almost like a burnout, where you just keep going pop, 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 pop. Not necessarily focusing on trying to get as much power as possible, but just get in that rhythm of twisting the shoulders with every single punch. Twist, 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 twist. And I did that for the remainder of the 3-minute round after finagling around with the other punches. Another drill mentioned in the book is to shuffle forward and then throw the drop step, landing that lead jolt. And I noticed I was a little bit awkward with it, so what I ended up doing is practicing the lead jolt on its own just to really break it down into multiple steps. Try to get it where I can land this with as much power as possible from a decent distance. Try to get that step down. Try to really get a feel for slamming my weight into the bag. And then I moved back to shuffling back in to try and practice the full movement. I really like this drill because as someone who stands out at a distance, sometimes I misjudge that jab and I'll throw it out there and my opponent will just take like a little step back and I'll miss. So by doing it this way, where it's like I close the distance to where I need to be and then quickly throw it, I can able to get into that jabbing range and throw it from the optimal position. Now I'm just going to work a little bit of normal boxing, but I'm trying to incorporate that drop step and the shoulder whirl in with my boxing a little bit more. So I'm really landing as I fall into those punches. As you can see when I'm talking about my theory about how you can jump into those hooks and push your whole body weight into them, very similar to how you would do the falling step with the lead jab, you can do it with the left and right hook as well. I would say I'm very happy with the speed of my punches too, that they've improved quite a bit. I definitely would say I'm not at that professional level yet, but my hands are moving a lot faster than they used to, even just like a few months ago. I've really fallen in love with that old school boxer shuffle, especially when in that close to medium range. I think a lot of people think that just because something's old that it's obsolete, but I think there's a reason people move this way. There was a reason they were able to generate a lot of power without necessarily having to get full extension on their arms. Here I do some free flow work where I'm just kind of practicing and getting a feel for, where my body's at, how I can move, how weight is dispersed between my legs. I just really want to get, a feel for how I can move and do something from whatever angle I'm at. So a lot of it is just very playful to just kind of imagine that opponent's there and just what is open. It's almost like shadow boxing, but that's not exactly my goal. My goal is to think outside the box and like, what could I do from this position? And not every gimmick that you come up with in your head is going to be a winner, but there's a lot of moves that I've come up with just messing around that actually work really well in sparring. I'll throw high blocks and then counter with a straight cross. I'll throw a low block and then cut an angle and then counter with punches. Like karate blocks absolutely work, and I discovered that just by playing around with them. Here you can see the influence that Western fencing has on my boxing, where I'll use that lead arm as my striking arm to pierce my opponent, and oftentimes my rear hand is going to be backwards to use, as like if it were a parrying dagger or something. Now on this shuffle, you'll see that both my feet lift off the ground on this jump, which allows me to land with all my weight in the cross. See, here I just discovered something very interesting. I'm a big fan of the Karate Blitz, but I've noticed that after its initial surprise, its effectiveness wears off. But I think I just found a hell of a way to make it a lot faster and a lot better from different angles. I discovered something about the Karate Blitz. When they teach it in karate, those deep front steps, those heavily exaggerated steps that would never obviously work
in a real fight. But I think when you have the context of how the moves are actually meant to be learned and used, it makes a difference. I don't think anyone who taught these moves meant for you to literally walk at someone throwing punches. It's meant to exaggerate hip movement, exaggerate rotation, learning where the power comes from, pushing off that leg. Something just clicked for me, right? Practicing Jack Dempsey's drop steps, where the weight comes from the sky, not necessarily from your legs pushing up, but more falling onto your opponent. What I've noticed is with the weight distribution of it on where it is on your legs. If I come to step forward, my front foot stops me, and then I have to step forward again, I lose my momentum, right? I step forward, boom. I might get one good punch, but it takes a lot of time to get there because, that karate punch takes forever. But what if instead of stepping forward, you step at an angle? It's quicker, boom. Firing your weight off that back leg, boom. Now my weight shifted over the other leg, boom. Weight shifted over here, boom. So, when you're doing the karate blitz, you can come forward and you almost feel like your weight is moving against you. But if I come in an angle, I'm loading up, boom, boom, boom. You're springing off of that leg. Then, instead of my leg fighting me, it assists me, springing me the other direction. Right here, boom, 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 boom. And then you get that head movement. As opposed to, see, it fights you. It's just meant to teach you that rotation. Boom,